Today we're going to talk about simple keyboard harmonization. It's a great and quick and easy way to get harmony into your composition and arranging them in a smooth way. The main benefits of the keyboard harmonization is that it's a very quick and easy way to do harmony in your compositions. You get okay voice leading, okay balanced chords, and it's a great basis for further orchestration as well. The main gist of keyboard harmonization is that you have four voices: soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And you have the three upper voices in your right hand and the bass voice in your left hand. And I usually do keyboard harmonization in two different ways. The first method is the traditional one, where the melody voice is the top voice of the four voices. The other one is that you separate your melody and your harmony, and you play your harmony with four voices below the melody voice. In the first version, the harmony is more connected to the melody. In the last version, it's freer from the melody's rhythm. And the great thing about keyboard harmonization is that it's very quick and easy. And one of the reasons it's quick and easy is that there are a finite number of hand shapes you can use. And with these, you can harmonize almost anything. Now, there are a couple of guidelines that you should follow to get good voice leading and make the keyboard harmonization sound good. The voicing should be within an octave in the right hand, using right hand shapes mostly. You should aim for smooth voice leading in all of the voices. Do not double the third. It's not a very pleasant sound in my opinion. Also avoid parallel octaves, and that's for better voice independency. Also try to resolve dominant chords properly in the outer voices. And when you have a set of guidelines of what not to do, it's also good to have a bunch of solutions of what to actually do or how to solve different problems. So now I'm going to go through a lot of examples of just different ways to solve a couple of different problems, so you can see how to actually do this. This is our first example, and the problem here is that we have a parallel octave between the tenor and the bass. And if you remember the guidelines, we shouldn't have parallel octaves, as it makes the voices less independent and it sounds like one voice instead of two different voices. The first thing you could try is just changing the right hand shape or voicing. And here we have solved the problem and get a little bit more independency between the tenor and the bass. Another solution to the same problem is using a third in the bass. Now the bass goes the opposite way of the tenor voice and they're not parallel anymore. You also need to change the right hand voicing to an open voicing to not double the third. Now we get another problem because our middle voices has to jump far up to reach the next chord, so the voice leading is bad. So let's try another open voicing in a right hand, doubling the top note, and then we get a much smoother voice leading. Yet another solution is using 7 chords. If you change one or both of the chords to a 7 chord, you have 4 different notes in a chord. And if you have 4 different notes in a chord, you don't have an octave, so you can't have parallel octaves anymore. So let's try changing the G to a G7 so the tenor stands still and isn't a parallel octave with the bass anymore. Or let's try changing the F major triad into a F major 7 for an even spicier solution to the problem. Another solution is changing one of the chords. For example, the F chord is harmonizing the note C in the melody. But in C major, the C note can either be the root of C major, the third of A minor, in addition to the fifth of F major. So if you change the chord to A minor, the parallel octaves goes away. You can also use something called rhythmical displacement to solve this problem. And rhythmical displacement means that you move one or more of the voices so they're not parallel with the other voices anymore. For example, we could make the tenor voice move up before the other voices move, because if the tenor voice and the bass voice aren't moving at the same time, they're not parallel anymore. And you will get greater voice independency. Another kind of rhythmical displacements are suspensions. A suspension is when a voice delays going to the next chord and is moving after the other voices. Here the bass voice is delaying its ascent to G and the parallel octaves goes away. Here we have a new example. The problem is still parallel octaves between the tenor and the bass, but this time between a C and an F chord. In this instance, we could use passing notes to solve the problem. This is where you connect two notes by putting extra notes in between. This can both result in smoother voice leading, but also fix bad parallels. Here it fixes the parallel octaves between the tenor and the bass, and the tenor doesn't have to leap up to the F. Here we have a voice leading problem because the inner voices needs to jump very high between the chords. Let's fix that using passing notes. Now they can walk up to the notes in the next chord instead of jumping. Here's another example with parallel octaves. Even though they are going the opposite way, there are still two octaves in a row, making them parallel. One way of solving this is the use of escape notes. An escape note is when you take a step in the opposite direction of an upcoming leap. This can give you an interesting sound and sometimes solve voice leading problems. So these are just problem-solving tools. Just have a list of them before you when you're working with this and go to it and try different solutions to see if you can solve voice leading problems. Here is an example melody that I used in the last video as well. And if I want to harmonize it with traditional keyboard harmonization, it could go like this. But you don't have to stop there. I don't think there are any problems I need to fix in this keyboard harmonization, but I do want some more life into it and some more movement and more exciting voices. I could use the same problem-solving techniques I've talked about, and I could use it to embellish and make a more beautiful arrangement of the harmony. So let's hear how that sounds for strings. Here I've done something else to arrange the melody. I used the same basic simple keyboard harmonization, but I wanted to add more flair to it, more rhythm and more excitement. Let's hear how that sounds with the orchestra. So how can you learn keyboard harmonization quickly? Well, of course, you need to practice it. And to practice it, I would just do this 5-step practice method. Step 1, find a melody that exists or create your own melody. Step 2, find basic chords you want to use for that melody. Step 3, harmonize it with the closest voicing below the melody all the way through. Just use basic triad shapes. 4, go through and see the voice leading problems. Where are the parallel octaves? Are you doubling any thirds? Are there big jumps and not smooth voice leading? And try to solve those. And 5, go and embellish it. You don't just need to fix problems. You want to make beautiful music or scary music or sad music or whatever, and embellish the harmony in a way that fits your arrangement. So do this 10 times and I bet you got a good hang of basic keyboard harmonization, and it's going to be quicker and quicker and quicker. Let's do actually a melody together to see how I would do simple keyboard harmonization. So this is a basic melody I wrote, and I've already added the chords because I have another video on that subject if you want to see it. So we're just going to go straight to step 3 and start keyboard harmonization. So let's listen to this melody. So let's first start by just filling in the chords underneath the melody. Here's an A, and I'll skip these fast notes. The melody is going to do them alone. And I'll just write in the bass as well. So there we have the start. Of course, there is a lot of problems that we're going to talk about. First of all, this first bar here, I can see a voice leading problem. Even though the melody is voicing, every other voice shouldn't be jumping as much as well if you can avoid it. That's not very smooth. So maybe I'll use some rhythmical displacements here, and I'll have all 3 voices start on an E and wait with the rest of the chord. So the middle voices here are just playing the E as well. So that's a rhythmical displacement. And I'll just make these their own voices so it's easier to see what they're doing. And here we have the same problem as over here, so I'll use the same solution. I'll just have all 3 voices play this note. So that takes care of a lot of jumping around, and we have a basic arrangement for our melody. Let's find if there are any parallel octaves. So this goes through the whole bar. So there is no parallel octaves between this, at least here, and these are just jumping and having fifths, so that's fine. The octave is between the A in the bass and the soprano, but there's a fifth here, so that's no problem. So these are not octaves going to this octave, so that's fine. This is a fifth going to an octave, so that's fine, and it's opposite motion, so that's good. This is a 7 chord, so it won't create any parallel octaves to the next chord. And it's the same here, no problem. There is an octave between the tenor and the bass, but it's not a parallel octave, so it's okay. Here the octave is between the alto and the bass, but it's not a parallel octave, so that's okay. And here there is no parallel octave, so it's okay. So I think the voice leading is okay here. It's not too much jumping around, it's a little bit, but it's not bad. So let's listen to how this sounds. So that sounds fine to me. So now we've solved the problems. So let's rather go through and see are the things we want to do to make the arrangement of the harmony a little bit better. So first of all, let's look at the bass. It's just long notes almost all the way. So maybe we can connect some of them. So here we can't walk up because then we will get a parallel. If we do this, we get a parallel octave up here. So that's not a good solution, but maybe we could use some enclosing. So here I went for opposite motion, walking up and walking down to it, this respective Cs, which I thought sounded cool. And here we could probably walk up to the bass. Which I thought sounded cool. And here we can use the same solution if we want to. And maybe we can walk these down to this chord here to make it smoother. Let's try and double this melody in this voice. So now the alto is following this just to make it a bit more exciting. And there you have it, a simple keyboard arrangement of a harmony for this melody with a little bit of added flair also at the end. So let's listen to it. So let's summarize. Keyboard style harmonization is a great and quick way to arrange harmony in your compositions. You can do it fast and it can sound pretty good. It's also a great starting point for further orchestration. So I highly recommend you to practice this. Just do like 5 or 10 maybe pieces and you get the hang of it. In a link below the video, you can find a cheat sheet to see exactly how to do keyboard harmonization and a list over the guidelines and the solutions. And try to have that beside you while you're working. If you like this video, please give it a like, a thumbs up. I would love that. And also, if you want to see more videos, please subscribe and click the notification buttons. And I'll see you in the future. Bye bye.